Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's having a good week. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different in response to a lot of the questions I've been getting on the channel about some of my other videos. I've decided to do like a little recap of the recent day on the water. This just happens to be after the ABA on Falls Lake. It's kind of a what, where, and why scenario. What I was throwing, where I was able to catch the fish that I weighed in, and kind of why I think they were there and why I think it worked. It was a really unusual day. It was very tough for me. I had 3 bites all day. Just so happened one of them was a big one, and that kind of was what saved the day for me. So I'm gonna start off with what I was throwing. The first 2 fish I caught both came on this jig right here. I hope you can see it well. It's just a black and blue pitching jig, 1/4 ounce. And it's the company I do not believe is even around anymore. I bought several from this guy when he was still in business. It's called Lockjaw Jigs. Let's see if I can get this off of here so I can show it to you a little bit better. And it's just a 1/4 ounce pitching jig, black and blue. I put a Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl and Okeechobee Crawl, I think it was. It's the green pumpkin with a little bit of blue on it as the trailer. That morning, Saturday morning, something just told me to tie on the jig. I'm not sure why, because I'm not usually a guy that throws the jig a lot. But I got down there Friday and I fished for about 3 or 4 hours. I left work a little early because I was camping down there close to the lake. And Friday, from all that rain that we'd had on Thursday, which, you know, it was like 1.5 inches of rain, that place was trashed, at least that end that we were launching from. And I was even wondering if I was gonna be able to fish that end or not. Anyway, Friday, I threw the stuff that I thought I could get a bite with. I didn't want to catch a lot because it was the day before, but I threw cranked a little, threw a spinnerbait a little, nothing, not even a bite. The water was about 1.5 feet above normal lake level. And I said, these fish are either right about to go on bed, have already started, or all this rain has really got them kind of in a funk. So I decided I was going to start crawling something, which I prefer to throw moving baits and stuff, but you could tell it wasn't going to happen. So I went with the jig Saturday morning. When I did my rods on Friday, I thought about a jig, but I didn't tie one on. Saturday morning I got up, it was much colder, much cooler. I was like, you need to have a jig tied on. So I tied it on. After about 30 minutes of throwing a Rogue, I gave a Rogue a shot. I gave the slider head worm a shot. I flipped around and pitched around creature bait. I picked this jig up and I said, just keep it in your hand for a while. And again, try to give you a good, again, it was a company called Lockjaw Jigs. They make good jigs, hand-tied skirts, not living rubber, it's silicone, and I still got 7 or 8 of these jigs left. Now, these jigs didn't come with the red rattle bands on them. You can order the stuff to do this, but just about a lot of the jigs I got, I order these little rubber rattle bands, they call them. Tackle Warehouse sells them. And you can buy the red barrel rattles that attach to them. Well, I've mentioned many times before, I just like red on my bait. It's just a personal thing. Any way I can add red to a bait, well, that's how I added red to this jig, these rattle bands. And they're, you know, work pretty well. So the big fish, weighs 652, came on this jig. And then I was pretty much just casting it out and dragging and hopping, just dragging and hopping. I would mix the retrieve up. I'd swim it some to see, you know. And actually the second fish I caught on it, the second fish in the video from this past Saturday's tournament, this was on March 30th. The second fish I caught swimming the jig. If you'll notice in the video, I was swimming it along, kind of hopping it and swimming it at the same time, and that's how I caught the second one. And I thought I was on to something. I threw this jig, and I stayed in that area for a while because a couple weeks prior I made a video where I caught my personal best. And these two fish I caught were in the same pocket where I had caught, I don't know, 7 or 8 fish 2 weeks ago. So there was fish in there, in the pocket beside it, there was fish in there. So I thought I was on to something. The bite just died on the jig. Let me tell you a little bit more about what I was using. That's a KastKing Royal Legend GT. I probably have more of these than any other KastKing reel. And this is a Falcon, I don't even know how you say this. I think it's Kara 6.6 medium heavy rod and 15-pound P-line CXX, the green copolymer line. That's what the setup was on this rod. Rod, reel, and that's the jig. 2 of my fish came on this. The third fish and the last bite I had came on a Black Label Baits. It's called the Piglet, which it kind of looks like a brush hog. I guess it's kind of along the same lines of a brush hog on a 3/16 ounce Woo tungsten sinker. This is the Piglet. The difference between this and a brush hog is the Piglet's a flatter bait. You know, the brush hog has a round body. The Piglet does not. Piglet's pretty flat. And I feel like a flat bait just gives you a better fall, and in the spring, the fall is so important. 4/0 Gamakatsu EWG hook and 3/16 ounce Woo tungsten bullet sinker on my Texas reel. Same reel, KastKing Royal Legend GT, same line, P-line, copolymer green, 15-pound. That fish came out of a little patch of brush. I tried some everything, and I just could not get but those 3 bites. I ended up with 11 pounds, 11.25 pounds. Nothing that I thought was gonna do anything in this tournament because Falls Lake has so many big fish in it. Turns out for the other 36 people fishing, it was a tough day all the way around. A lot of zeros. Guys just struggled to get bit. And I kept other things in my hand for a while. I threw my slider worm. I could not believe I could not catch 2 12-inch fish on a slider worm, but you know, it is what it is. I think as fishermen, we always think we should have found more than what we had. At least I do. And, you know, I always think if I would have done this, I could have caught another keeper, or I could have, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know, kind of thing. This is the Black Label plastic. Give you a little bit better look at the Piglet. This is a good bait. I've had a lot of success with it since it came out. This is, you know, black and blue sapphire. But it's just a flat bait. The Zoom Brush Hog is round right through here. And Brush Hog's a good bait too. But when I saw this, when they came out, I was like, I gotta get me some of those. So I bought several bags of them. The only other thing I did, now let me talk real quick about where I was fishing. We put off in Barton's, Upper Barton boat launch, boat ramp, and I had never fished that end of the lake. I had always fished the far end or the other end, and that was several years ago. It was a BFL that went out of there, and I fished it. There were several pockets not far from that ramp that I really liked the looks of because of the amount of rock that was in them. And 2-3 weeks ago, almost a month ago now, when I went in there on that rainy day and caught my personal best, and I turned the camera off that day at noon, I probably caught 30 or 40 fish that day. But I only have about 6 or 7 of them on camera, including that 513 and the 8.3 that I caught. Well, those, I found 3 pockets, and they were very close together. One was on one side of the lake, and the other 2 were side by side on the other. And there was a similarity in the 3 of them, and it was the amount of rock that was in them. And I'm not talking about the rock you could see, but I'm talking about the rock that was on the bottom in those pockets. I don't know how much you use your 2D sonar, but you can look at the bottom hardness on your 2D sonar. The harder the bottom, the oranger and redder on your settings. You can set it up, and maybe it might not even be something you can adjust. But on my Lowrance, the harder the bottom, the orange, it'll go from yellow to orange and red. Whenever I was in these 3 pockets, the bottom hardness on my 2D sonar was just solid red. Everywhere else, it was the normal yellow, a little orange every now and then. These 3 pockets had a lot of rock in them. And I always caught fish in them. Friday before the tournament, I was like, when I didn't have hardly any bites, I was like, let me run in one of those pockets. Second cast. One swiped at the Rogue and missed it. And it was a decent size, it was a decent fish. I didn't even catch it. But he showed himself, and I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to start right here where I caught him before. I was trying to stay away from those. I wanted to find something else, somewhere different. I couldn't. So I went back in there. So these 3 pockets were all within a half mile, 3/4 of a mile from the Barton boat ramp, Barton Creek boat ramp. Why were the fish there? Those fish were ready to spawn. The second one I caught, her whole belly was yellow. You know, when they release the eggs, there's this fluid, and the whole bottom of her belly was yellow. She had already spawned out. But the water was so dingy and muddy, I couldn't see them. And I really wouldn't have, I don't know how much I would have fished for them anyway, because I don't really like fishing for bedding fish anymore. I'll do it if I have to, but you know, I'd rather not. And the water was so dingy you couldn't see them. I didn't see any fry, you know. And that's why I figured if I kept dragging stuff around, I knew where rock was, I knew where some brush was, some stumps were, but I just couldn't. I don't know if they just weren't really a lot of fish locked onto them yet. The big one definitely hadn't spawned, and the third one I caught hadn't spawned, and that was a female too. So one other thing that helped was, and some people don't believe in scent and attractants and this, that, and the other, to each their own. I've used Bang for years, the garlic crawl scent. Bait fuel. I thought it was a gimmick. Bought a bottle of it. And since I bought it, you can tell I've used right much of it. All I know is I wasn't even getting bit at all at first. And I started just putting this stuff, just slathering the jig and the plastic with it. And I caught 3 fish when I started using it. I've used it in the past, and some days it feels like it works. Some days, you know, you're always kind of skeptical. Everything in fishing has gotten to the point where a lot of what we always thought why fish did what they did, and it has all changed, and we all know why, because of the whole forward-facing sonar deal. You know, I watch a lot of video. I listen to a lot of the pros. I don't have it. But you can't deny that you can learn a lot about fish. I just watch it just to watch how fish do not completely act the way that we thought they did. There's a lot of things we're seeing that for years, you got to be honest, we wouldn't have thought was the case at all because of the way we had always fished and caught fish. There's so many more fish out there than what we ever thought. Now, this is just something, in my mind, it helps. I was skeptical of it at first. The more I've used it, the more I think it helps. I know it helped Saturday because I won't get bit. So that's pretty much the jig. I'll show you this jig one more time. Any 1/4 ounce pitching jig probably would have worked. This is just one that I like to throw, and I had on hand close by. Had a good hook on it. 2 fish came on that, and the last fish came on the Piglet creature bait, black and blue. Like I said, both reels, P-line, 15-pound CXX, the green, copolymer, and the bait fuel, and that was it. I hope this, hope this helps somebody catch a fish. I get a lot of questions about recap and where'd you catch them, how'd you catch them, more detail, and that's on me. When I'm fishing a tournament, I know I'm not taking the time. I try to stop in the video and tell you this and that, so I'm going to try and start doing that, giving you more detail, and I hope this helps. Hope everybody's getting out there on the water. If you're fishing Falls Lake right now, they're spawning. They got to be. I know they are. With the weather and everything and the way it was the other day, I'm 90% sure they're spawning. So get out there and catch them. Now's a good time to catch a big fish. So good luck to everybody. A couple of people have reached out and asked me, So hopefully this will give you a little bit more detail about Falls Lake. And I'm going to start doing this after all my tournaments, and I'm going to start doing it after, just days on the water when I record in video. I'll come back if I have a really good day and kind of break it down better. So I hope this helps. Keep up with the questions, comments. I appreciate them. Thanks to everybody that's following the channel. Hope y'all have a good day and tight lines. See you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.